Vox Lux, which is the new film by actor turned director Brady Corbett, who made Childhood of a Leader. The story is broadly about a young girl who survives a school shooting and then goes on to become an international pop star in the wake of that. It's a film about fame, about how violence and celebrity become intertwined, about how news becomes commodified, about how the press can build people up to knock them down. So the film's divided basically into two halves. The first half, Rafe Cassidy is Celeste Morgan, who tries to talk a gun-wielding pupil into letting her classmates go during a hideous shooting, and she herself is caught up in it. She survives, and she later sings a song at a memorial service with her sister Ellen, played by Stacey Martin. And the song then goes viral. It becomes a kind of a unifying anthem, a kind of an anthem of defiance. And the second half of the movie is later on, in which her character is played by Natalie Portman, who now has her own daughter, played by Cassidy. And the songs are written for Marcia and performed by their respective players. And in the first half, she seems sort of fragile and innocent and yet also driven. In the second half, she's transformed into an altogether more messed up character, hugely successful, but now with the alcohol problems, estranged from the daughter who she's failed to raise, and now increasingly the subject of hostile press coverage about her image, her past, her injury, and her legacy.
Listen, there are 3 classifications of gunshot wounds to the spine. I'm type 3, which means that the bullet is lodged in my intervertebral disc space. Now, type 3 injuries are further subdivided into A, spinal injury without perforation of abdominal viscera, and B, spinal lesions with perforation of abdominal organs. Now, thankfully, I'm type A, but it's no secret that I'm on meds for my injury, and I never should have been behind the wheel of a car that night. Josie!
You know, I didn't mean to upset you by that.
I used to be treated like I was a hero, and then they start talking about me like I'm trailer trash. But that's what this show is about. It's about rebirth.
I mean, it's a very strange film. It's quite literally a film of two halves. You know, the first half is a strange mixture of sort of of Elephant, the Gus Van Sant, and something closer to the strange feeling of Brothers of the Head, which is a film that was not seen enough, but was a really interesting film. And the second half of it morphs into something which is closer to, I suppose, the opening movement of The Fisher King, and later on the concert scenes from Breaking Glass, you know, the Hazel O'Connor film. And Natalie Portman is very strong in the role. I think originally it was Rooney Mara was down there, and it is hard to imagine anybody other than Natalie Portman pulling it off. But the problem is that there is a disjunct between the first and second half, that she seems to be quite literally a different person, whereas other characters, you know, follow through, albeit in changed roles. But the through thread is Jude Law as the manager, the person who sees in the young survivor and singer something which he thinks can then, you know, be turned into a saleable commodity, and who then stays with her throughout the career. And he's really good. I mean, Jude Law is really good in this film.
Oh, he got married today.
Oh, I didn't know that. Congratulations to him. I'm sorry, I have an absolute lack of interest in film stars' personal life. Oh, well, that's great. So congratulations. He's really, really good in this. Partly because the consistency of his character. I mean, weirdly, you've seen AI, right? The Steven Spielberg movie.
I'm not sure I ever did, actually.
He plays in. I think he's terrific in AI, in which he plays Gigolo Joe, who isn't the central character of the film, but actually, weirdly enough, is one of the threads that runs right the way through it. And his character in that film is more central than the narrative would have you believe. And I think the same is true here. It's not that the characters are similar. It's to do with the way in which the movie threads together these ideas, these sort of contrapuntal ideas. Incidentally, the incidental score, the orchestral score, not the pop songs, is by Scott Walker, whose work I have always admired enormously. And there is this kind of Herman-esque strings thing going on in the background, which I think really brilliantly accompanies the action. So it is very strange and not wholly successful, but I think Jude Law is really terrific in it. And I think that I would always rather watch a filmmaker take a risk and attempt to do something really adventurous and not entirely succeed than see somebody play it safe. Also, I do know that there are people for whom the movie absolutely works. Robbie Collin, for example, is a very big fan. I think he called it "A Dark Star is Born," which is a terrific phrase, for which I hope to have given him proper credit. I thought it has major flaws in it, but I did think it was fascinating and interesting, and I think Jude Law is just great in it.